Levy, welcome back to Speak Out Long Island with Steve Levy. I'm the former county executive here in Suffolk County, and we're here for another hour and a half at LongIslandNewsRadio.com and 103.9 FM. The phones are open at 451-1039 for my special guest, Lee Zeldin, our state senator and fellow who's running for Congress here in the 1st District. Welcome, Lee.
It is great to be back on the show. Thank you for the invite.
Wonderful to have you back. Now, with Lee, there were so many important questions out there, so many important issues, federal, state level. We have young women being kidnapped in Africa. We have a $17 billion debt in this country. We have schools looking for more money. But without question, the most important issue of the day, the most important bill had to be what happened in the state legislature last week when the state legislature adopted yogurt as the state snack. That was hilarious when I heard this. What's going on up there, Lee? What was this all about? Tell me you didn't vote for this, Lee.
I didn't vote for. I voted against the bill, and I have nothing against yogurt. I love yogurt. I love different flavors of yogurt. However, I just couldn't bring myself to vote for naming yogurt as the official state snack of New York. Now, it's one of the good things for New Yorkers is that the yogurt industry is growing. That it's contributing to the New York State economy. Chobani upstate is expanding. Mm-hmm. However, I know that it would be very difficult for me to go back home to my constituents. And when they said, "What did you do this week?" If this is all I had to show, because I know that people want to see me fight for, against Common Core, to stop Common Core, to repeal the SAFE Act, to cut taxes and restore freedoms and liberties. So, it was
tell
difficult.
Me, your vote wasn't against yogurt per se. It was against the ridiculousness of the vote itself.
I was voting against the fact that we were voting on yogurt.
well, I could see the ads now. Lee Zeldin hates yogurt.
No, that's
Vote
not true.
against Lee Zeldin.
Reject those lies. I love yogurt, but as a state snack, and they were so Jon Stewart from the Daily Show a couple nights ago did a clip about 7 minutes long.
Right.
People can see it on the Daily Show website, making light of the debate. It was actually entertaining. Mildly entertaining, and it's for folks of you who go onto Jon Stewart's website. I promise you'll get a chuckle.
Oh, boy. Hey, listen, we already have the phones lighting up. I don't know if it's about yogurt, about what I talked about in the first session or whatever. But we got Michael from Southall. Welcome to Speak Out Long Island with Steve Levy, Michael, and we're here with Lee Zeldin. How are you today?
Good to be here.
Great. What's on your mind, Mike?
Just a quick question for Senator Zeldin. Senator, you've repeatedly blamed things not getting done in Congress on Republicans and Democrats not coming together to debate issues and talk about issues that are important to the American people. But Republicans in the House have refused to allow a discussion about raising the minimum wage. And Congressman Bishop has had the personal courage to put forth a discharge petition which would force at least a discussion on the floor about that issue. So my question, Senator, for you is, if you were in Congress, would you sign that petition?
No, I wouldn't sign that petition.
Thanks, Mike, for calling in. Lee, what? Go ahead.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, we here in New York State, whenever we participate in these minimum wage discussions, it's too often, you use like the big business example, the Walmart, the Target, businesses where, they might be making huge profits. And one of the most difficult challenges, first off, on Long Island, and you know this, so well, Steve, that we have it's not just an unemployment issue, but an underemployment issue. People not making enough to get by. And quite honestly, whether you were making $9 an hour or $15 an hour, it's a big difference if you're 19 years old or if you're in your 30s or 40s, you're married, you have 2 kids, you own a home, you could be making $70,000 a year and still barely be getting by. And so for small businesses all across the island, if they have $30,000 budgeted for 2 minimum wage employees, when you raise the minimum wage on them, that pot of $30,000 is still the same pot of $30,000. So one person might be making more money.
Yeah.
That just means the other person is be getting less hours, less money, or may even lose their job. And I think that that's just an important dynamic. There's a few different important dynamics that really have to become part of the discussion. The challenges for small business owners when you raise the minimum wage, as well as there's a big difference between a 17-year-old making minimum wage and someone who is older. And on top of that, we have so many people who are capable of working and aren't. Some are looking for jobs, and my heart goes out to them. They are working hard to get employed. Other people are, they could be working, but they actually think they realize that they can actually make more by not working, and that's something else that we need to. It's much bigger than the minimum wage debate. Right. It's really looking at all of the different programs that provide for people who need assistance to make sure that the math it works out. When someone decides that they don't want to take that job making $10 an hour because they can make more sitting at home, something's wrong with the system.
Well, thanks, Lee. The phones are lighting up. You're listening to Speak Out Long Island with Steve Levy. Our special guest for this half hour is Lee Zeldin, our state senator. We got Sam calling in online too. Sam, welcome to the show, Sam.
Hi, Senator Zeldin. So a few days ago on WLNG, I was listening in, and you said that Congressman Bishop did not have an alternative to the Republican budget proposal. But on the same day, the House considered the Republican budget. It also considered and rejected the Democratic budget alternative. Congressman Bishop voted for it. So we know what his values and policies he stands for. But apparently you think it's okay to run and hide on this important issue.
Well, it's very apparent that I got to hand it to Tim's team. They had their people lined up today, but that's good because that's what the show is all about. So thanks, Sam, and let's.
I was wondering if you were in Congress, would you have voted yes on the Republican budget?
Thanks, Sam.
And again, the congressman has been, if you want to talk about being in hiding, the congressman has been totally in hiding as far as what proposal he wants to see passed. And there have been so many different votes over the course of the last year. Some are put forth by Republicans. You have proposals by Democrats. And what's very unfortunate about that example, and I actually would like to give the congressman the benefit of the doubt, that proposal is not what the congressman is advocating as his alternative to what the Republicans put forth. I'm not going to assume that that's what he wants to see passed because the budget that the Democrats put forth has no path whatsoever towards a balanced budget.
I got to say, Lee, and for those who are hanging on the line, stay on there. We'll be with you in a minute or so. But I've got to give credit to a guy like Paul Ryan because he's getting his brains beaten out. It's so much easier to just put in a budget that doesn't deal with the deficit because you don't have to cut anything. You don't touch a darn thing. Don't do anything controversial. Just continue to give everything that everyone wants and just make our grandchildren pay for it. It's cowardly. Yeah, you get to say, look at me, I'm giving all these things to people, and you're also giving an ungodly debt to our kids and our grandkids. And you got at least Paul Ryan coming in and saying, hey, these are the tough choices we have to make because a $17 trillion debt is going to make us Greece, and someone has to have the guts. You just don't see it coming out of this administration that the entitlements are blowing out of control. Who's going to have the guts to do it?
Well, and what is so fascinating is that whenever we have someone putting forth a solution, now I'm 34 years old. If you want to discuss in Washington a reform that affects me as a 34-year-old, let's have that debate. But when you propose changing something that affects me decades from now, and you somehow want to spin that to scare our current seniors, you are doing such a disservice to our nation, to our next generation. You're doing nothing to tackle that debt issue. And again, I mean, the congressman has not he has not indicated that the Democratic plan is the one that he would advocate for. I would actually be surprised if That's what he said, considering that budget does absolutely nothing towards balancing the budget. I mean, I'd be surprised, but if that is, I think you should just come out and say it so we can have the debate.
I haven't heard of any Democratic plan that balances the budget, none whatsoever. And, and that's not a partisan statement. That's just fact. Frank, I don't know if it's Fred or Frank. He's been waiting for a while on line 3. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the show.
This is Fred Gorman.
Oh, Fred Gorman. How are you, Fred? Yes, this is Steve Levy. You're here with Lee Zeldin as well. For the folks, we have Fred's full name. Fred is one of the fellows I was talking about in the first half hour about putting together that program during the week from the Long Islanders for Education and Reform. Fred is one of the heroes in bringing us the tax cap. Welcome to the show, Fred.
Thank you.
Hey, Fred, how are you?
Hey, Lee, it's great to talk to you.
Yeah, same here.
I want to ask you a very simple question. Can you get $100,000 jobs back to Long Island if we send you to Washington? Period. That's my first concern. Secondly, then I'd like to tell you where I think you could get a couple of $100,000 jobs up in Albany in case you don't make it, which I doubt, because I believe you're going to be Bishop, but just in case. Can you tell me how to get a couple of $100,000 jobs? Can you do it?
Yeah, no. So thank you for the question, Fred. And we have to believe that we can. And I think that there are many different reasons why Long Island has continued to bleed high-paying jobs. I think part of it has to do with policy, and part of it has to do with culture. First, let me give you an example with regards to culture, because this is a very simple fix. There's a business in Farmingdale called Harry Levinson Associates. They're a distributor. Very successful, great company. The state of Kentucky comes to them, offers to move them. They would sell their property here. They wouldn't have to pay property taxes in that county. They were going to rename the town after them. This great, generous package that they offered, Harry Levinson Associates. Barry Feldman, the owner, he complains that I can't even get a return phone call from Albany. Couldn't believe it. I wanted to help him and try to arrange him getting a return phone call, and he couldn't get it. As far as culture goes, we have governors of other states personally coming and talking to our CEOs, putting together packages, luring them to their states. Our governors need to act as CEOs, personally paying that respect and trying to put together packages that keeps our businesses here so that they can continue to expand, grow, and create more of those great high-paying jobs you just referred to, Fred.
Let me interrupt one second.
Steve, if I could just say something quickly.
Sure, Fred.
Sure. Deepwater Port. Why aren't we making huge generators there? All these generators are now being made in foreign countries. We can make them right here, and we could ship them to anywhere because we have that facility. We have the Calverton Airport. Why can we not take the remainder? And don't tell me it's because of the tree huggers. I mean, we are bleeding $1,000 jobs. You're right. Cuomo comes up with this silly thing. Listen, if you can find something, we'll give you a tax credit for a couple of years if you can do something on Stony Brook territory, Stony Brook University. That's nonsense.
Well, Fred, you know what it is, and I'm going to ask. I'll ask Lee to comment on this as well. It's not just the environmental problems in getting a permit, but it's the cost of doing business. It's so expensive here in New York State, which is why Rick Perry from Texas came up and issued a challenge to Governor Cuomo. Hey, debate you anytime, any place. They're spending $140 million on this Startup New York campaign. And Rick Perry is saying, hey, come on down to Texas where we have no state income tax, very low corporate tax, and that's where people are going. Lee?
I think that different levels of government.
Fred, let Lee answer, and then we'll get back to you, Fred.
I mean, different levels of government all have a responsibility here, and you can point to policies that you go down to town, county, state, federal government, all have a responsibility here. Now, I mean, you might have a great project, but some town councilman on some town board, I think of it as extortion with these community benefits, where in order to get permission to do a zoning change, you have to pay $2 million for some unrelated project 3 miles down the road.
You're absolutely right. The politicians are, in a sense, they're parasites. They're money parasites. They're sucking the life and happiness out of Long Island to favor their friends. You got a legislature. Everybody in the legislature feels it's their job to take care of their community. So rather than spending 50 cents on what has to be done, they're spending $1.50 because $1 of the $1.50 is really going just to basically make them stay in power, and that's a terrible part of our problem. But Lee, just to get back to what I want to hear from you, which I think is important and one of the most important issues, is can you and do you have a plan to get six-figure jobs here on Long Island? I mean, manufacturing jobs. Do you have a plan that
Absolutely.
you can work with the government to get us government jobs or something here to
yeah, we have to. I mean,
they're starving.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. So on the federal level, we have to improve our business climate. The federal government needs to get out of businesses' way. I think that one of the reasons why we have lost so many high-paying jobs is, some of these policies that are advocated down in Washington that harm our business climate as a nation. We feel the effects first and foremost here on Long Island when it's compounded with New York State having the highest corporate and individual marginal income tax rates in the entire country, or Long Island having the highest energy costs and property taxes. It all adds up to the cost of doing business. So, at the federal level, policies that impact family-run businesses, where when someone passes away, some farm on the North Fork would have to sell a whole bunch of land just to pay their taxes on stuff that was already taxed already, which is one of the reasons why I support the federal government repealing the death tax. There's a lot of policies at the federal government, but I really don't believe that until all levels of government do more of what's in their individual powers, that it won't add up. I don't think there's a simple solution for any one level of government. Everyone needs to chip in to help our businesses expand and grow. Well,